Hey, hello, welcome back everybody. I hope everybody's okay out there. I hope everybody's enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the time with one another and trying to muster on through these strangest of strange times. We've been doing a lot of Four Brothers lately because it's about the only thing we can do. I've got a couple more podcasts in the bank that I'm going to release over the coming weeks. Thank you everybody for the feedback from David's, the people who have messaged us and said they really enjoyed Dave's story. It was a lovely story. A pedestrian story, a builder who grew up in a South Yorkshire town, and like many of us, in a drug culture, in a peer pressure culture, situations that we all try and manage and work our way through. And I thought it was lovely, and he's a smashing lad, and he's a joy to watch through vicariously, whether it's through Instagram and Facebook, or if I get to be out with him as we do these days. We get out in the summer and we go camping with the guys. It's lovely to see him. He's an amazing dad and a wonderful fella, dry as a bone, straight down the line, just how we like it. So thank you very much everybody for that. Welcome new listeners. It's true, the fucking podcast listening world is hanging in there, but actually it's really interesting. I did an interview with Pod Bible magazine and chatting away with one of the directors there, and they were saying that podcast listening has gone down over 20% since the lockdown, and it made a lot of sense actually. At first I thought, well, everybody would be chilling and listening to podcasts and just chilling out. Not the case. And it made sense when he told me why. I said so many people who listen to podcasts are listening to them when they're driving, when they're commuting, when everybody's off to school or everybody's out and about and they're working from home or they're alone. So it's weird. It's gone down, but we really appreciate everybody who is listening. And I'm sure once we get back into the groove, everybody will pick up on their personal libraries and where they're at with things. But yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it's just a time to take stock and realise it's nice to have some time in your life and not have to be somewhere, do something, sign something, be obligated. It's nice to just reflect and spend some time. So, but big shout to Pod Bible as well. We did the Pod Bible podcast, which was wonderful, great fun doing that with Mr. Stu Whiffin. That's going to be out soon. I'll keep you all posted. We've got a full page ad in the magazine. We've just done a deal with the guys as well. They're really helping us out. They're enjoying the podcast. They're supporters of the Chew the Chat podcast. They're enjoying the Four Brothers stuff. So that's a real honour and a privilege. So we are super grateful. And I will keep you guys posted when the Pod Bible podcast from us comes out, but you should drop it into your library. It's a 20-minute bite-sized podcast. It's there literally to be that infill. When your podcast's finished, you've got 20 minutes left on your drive, or when we used to drive and when we may drive in the future, on the plane, on the train, whatever you're doing, just to give you an info what's going on, whose podcasts are popping up, whose podcasts have got a good wave of momentum at the moment, who's got interesting guests crossing over onto different podcasts. It's a wonderful directory to find out what's going down in podcast world. So check it out anyway, and we'll let you know when our episode comes up, and we'll link it in. So thank you to Pod Bible. Also, sponsors, as ever, Go Deep Flotation, the powerful, wonderful people there. It's such a shame that we can't be sharing floating and people can't be floating during this time to keep the stress levels down and the immune system up. But do a Google on flotation therapy, check it out, find out what it is, and find a place near you and get yourself floating once we get back in the real world. And next time the virus comes around, which I think it's going to, you'll be a little bit stronger, a little bit more immune. Our other sponsors, same story, different therapy. LincolnCryolab.co.uk. Cryotherapy, 3 minutes. Again, Google it. 3 minutes of your time. Jump in the chamber, get frozen by liquid nitrogen down to like -145, 150, even 180 in some places in the country. Again, we can't do any more than point you in a direction of just spending a bit of time sat on the deck chair in the garden. Have a little nosy cryotherapy. What does it do? Is it good for me? What are the benefits? What can I take from it? Google that, check it out. Once we're up and running, I'll keep you guys posted, and we can all use the code CHEW and we can get 10% off of those therapies and get ourselves ready for the next lockdown. Okay, this week is another Four Brothers because that's all I can really do at the moment. Me and the boys are we've been doing steady podcasts. We've all done quarantine. The two of the brothers, Joe and George, are key workers working through this epidemic. One of them in education in the school system, and the other with British Royal Mail, and deliveries and stuff. So we've been getting together as per and just sort of trying to exercise our demons, our motivations, our understandings, just trying to illuminate each other on how we're feeling and how we're coping, and just trying to get through it, really. So that's been nice. And the one that you're about to listen to, episode 10, was the first one we videoed proper. So that went out prior to this that you're listening to now. It's available at YouTube. We're building our YouTube channel now. We'll be filming all the podcasts from this point going forward. So we're going to really try and explore that avenue and get videos up and try and bring that content along and get you involved. You can see what's happening, see the guests, see the conversations unfold, as well as listening to them here in the audio files as per usual. So stick with that, and if you do hop over there and subscribe, tell a friend, share it to somebody. Same old, all the socials. It really does mean a lot to us if you share and comment and tell a friend, and yeah, that's how this thing grows. So thank you, everybody. We've been playing music. We've been asking for music. People who listen, indie people, producers, DJs, band members. It's been awesome getting stuff sent in. I've been listening to a lot of stuff, but this particular occasion, we're going to play something from my brother Joe. Now, Joe is he's the second youngest of us four brothers. He's super talented. He went off to university after school, and he did media and everything, and he's a piano lessons when he was a kid, and once he learnt the piano he could master pretty much anything he put his mind to musical wise. He produces stuff, but and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Joe, because I've been saying this to him for fucking years, which is like, you've got to get it out there because it's so good, but he doesn't put it out there. Nobody knows he does it. He doesn't play it to anybody. But when we finished the last podcast, he played me a couple of things. We had a little jam on the guitar, and we had a little sing-song, and then he played me a couple of bits, and I sort of forced him to send me everything he's got, or certainly some of the bits that he's willing to let go of, and I've been listening to them. And I want to play something from my little brother Joe today. It's all this stuff he sent me is literally, it's bedroom demos, ideas and sketches that he's played out, but so good. He's got so much talent. This particular track, it's got echoes of kind of, there's Alex Turner in here for me, there's kind of the Kills, there's a few twists and turning. It's only like I say, it's a minute 40 of an idea, but I really like it. It's Fire in Your Belly is its name. It's what we all need right now. And it's my little brother Joe, and I just hope you don't mind me playing this, Joe, because I haven't asked him at this point. But I love it, and Fire in Your Belly indeed. So yeah, I'm going to play that track as we lead in here. So this is episode number 10 of the Tudor Chat podcast. It's Four Brothers.
Fire in your belly, fire in your soul. Tell me when you're ready and I'll let them go. Fire in your belly, fire in your soul. Tell me when you're ready and I'll let them go. Fire in your belly, fire in your soul. Tell me when you're ready and I'll let them go.
Welcome to Tudor Chat Podcast.
busy. I had a bit of a lie-in. Thought I'd treat myself to a good solid 9 hours.
Did you get 9 hours?
I did have a solid. I went to bed after we finished that last game.
I had another couple of games.
I slept till 9. Had a nice wake up to the sunshine. Nice cup of coffee. Saluted the sun a few times. And then I popped up to Mum's. I've been up at Mum's for the past few hours.
How's things up there?
Nothing's changed.
Are they in which parts of the house are they in? Is the old man living in the shed?
He was pottering about, trying to make himself look busy.
Yeah.
And Mum was in the garden, and then they both just ended up chilling.
Oh, that's
Which was quite nice, actually. Yeah, quiet.
Yeah, they popped and spoke to us through the window. Mum did the other week, and she said
With the gas mask on.
last week that they'd been on a bike ride.
Yeah, they came to mine. I was
Right.
asleep.
Oh yeah. I was up at Mum's before they set off. Actually,
And come in.
Yeah.
it was all a bit of a, well, it was quite a task getting them on the bikes to actually get going. I think it was all a bit of a.
I can imagine they'd have been.
hoo-ha.
Just slow down, for God's sake!
I'm not on yet, Paul.
I don't want to go this way. Why don't we go that way?
Were they on a tandem bike?
She wouldn't be seen dead on one of them.
Hey, I was on a tandem once. The only time I've been on a tandem in Italy. I was on holiday in Italy, and I was with Mouse, right, which is a nickname, so he will remain
For a
known
human.
as Mouse. Yeah, and he's a big human. And we were trying to find this go-kart place, right? I think we're in a place called Jesolo. It's kind of on the mainland. It's on the coast of the mainland where you get a ferry over to Venice.
Jezzel, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. So we were in Jesolo, and we'd gone with our partners who were sisters and some family. And we were kind of like day 3, like, right, we need to fucking, go and do something. There's a go-kart track and it's only however far. And we'd seen this bike hire and stuff. And there's tandems. So we're like, fucking, let's get a tandem. Anyway, we get a pamphlet, got like a little local...
How to, but
Yeah, little how,
Step one.
Well, where's the go-kart track? Like a little illustrated
You are here.
map of the area. Yeah, you are here. And we're like, right, I'm on the front of this thing, yeah? He's on the back. We get going, and it's quite nice coming out the little busy town bit. And then before you know it, like, I'm fucking pedalling away, and it's getting a bit tougher and tougher, and I think, fucking... And I keep
He's
looking
stopped
back.
pedalling.
Yeah, and he's looking at the pamphlet going, right, we need to go, we've got to go out. And I'm like, all right then, we'll keep pedaling, for God's sake. So we get, and then the next thing, we're on a fucking motorway, right? And he's not fucking pedaling, and I'm talking like he's 16 stone. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, whatever, 10 stone at the time. And I keep looking around, and I'm like, we're literally getting to the point where the bike's going to tip over, because I'm like, for fuck's sake, man, you got to pedal, man, come on. And he's like flapping around with the fucking pamphlet and that. So that was my only tandem
I think
experience.
that's probably why they've never really took off that well.
Yeah.
I think that kind of scenario.
Yeah, because
probably
there's
happens
always
a lot.
one. There's always somebody doing a bit more work.
Well, you can
than the
imagine
other,
some of
isn't
the speed you got if you both going at it, like them Olympic rowers.
Yeah.
If they made a sports tandem, like a real
must be- they must
They do.
streamlined
I think they have them in the
sports tandem.
Olympics. They have
must
them
be
in the,
something
when they
like
go
that.
around that ring.
Yeah, but
Just
there's
go
not
fast as
two
fuck
people
round
on
it.
it, is there?
I think they do. I think they have a tandem one.
Do they?
I think
I think they do. I mean, that's not something I would seek out.
That's,
like,
yeah, no,
With
I
them
think you're
sharp,
right.
like
Yeah,
sharp
they've got them.
helmet.
yeah, and they're also like the bikes, like fucking like a blade, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like basically like cycling tobogganing kind of setup. And they've got like a team of you.
Like if you looked at him straight on, you wouldn't see him.
Yeah. Yeah. You just see Mick at the front. God, do you think we'll ever see a sporting event like that again? Where people go to the same place and do sport?
Sit,
Yeah,
sit
I mean-
next to one another.
No, it's weird.
At this point,
At
it's
this
hard to
point,
envision
yeah.
going back to that.
I mean, everybody's hopeful, aren't they? That things are going to go back to normal, and like I said on the last one, of being in lockdown before, things do get better. But I mean, this is a completely different kettle of fish now, isn't it? The whole world economy is fucked, isn't it? Let's be honest. And the
Football
stigma
celebrations.
of like the 2 meter rule and that, are people ever going to be able to stand next to strangers again without being a bit?
I think the fear
You know what I
is
mean?
going to be around for a long time, isn't it? Like the people who have got that kind of OCD nature and, washing their hands regularly and a bit freaked and spooked by things.
What's the word for that? There's like
Hypochondriac.
hypochondriac.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how are
that's
they
going to
doing
be
now?
accelerated. Yeah, that's what I mean. They're probably having all
Freaking
sorts
out,
of
aren't they?
stress and
And that's something that I've been thinking a lot about. Is like, yeah, we're all saving lives by cutting life, by stopping life, and like, what effect is that going to have? Because there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just on their own. A lot of people have been sacked from the jobs, losing their, and we're only at the beginning. We're only 3 weeks in now. A lot of people get paid monthly. Everything's still pretty fucking normal, isn't it? Although nobody's going to work. In the next few weeks, when all that's run out, I mean, what's going to happen then? It's
incremental change that we adapt to, and we do adapt. We are adaptable creatures if we're anything, and we just adapt, don't we? And it is what it is.
And we will. But
I mean, it feels like it's been going on for ages. That's something that surprised me. As this feels almost like this is normality.
well,
now.
I had a
Do
week
you know what I mean?
because I went well before the lockdown all started. I had a week at home before that, and then before that, weather with work. I mean, I've hardly done anything this year. You know what I mean? And I can't do anything. I'm not going to be able to do anything until they open up the building merchants again. So,
And people are comfortable enough to. I don't know. It's strange because you go out to the shop, you nip to do your whatever your hour of association a day. You know, you're running, your press ups, whatever it is, your daily walk. But I can only speak for my area, my experience. But people are out walking, they're out jogging, they're not out, trying to get some fresh air because everybody's ill.
No.
And it's that weird dichotomy of like, well, we know some people are ill,
But I ain't seen anyone.
but like everywhere I'm going, it's like people are more bamboozled. And as time's going on, it feels like people are more actually bamboozled by the longer this goes on. Like, what is actually happening?
I think there's a lot of moral, social judgment involved. You can't, stay home, save lives. If you're not following that, then you're putting life at risk, aren't you? Even though, like, I don't see, if I go and do whatever I do for the day, the chances of me coming into contact with anybody is fucking slim. You know what I mean? I'm a roofer. Most of the times if I'm going to work, the guy's at work or he's in the house, I'm not going to come into contact with him. If I want materials and that gets delivered to say, I don't come into contact with people. I don't need to, but I can't go to work because of the stigma. Like, people see you out in the streets, like,
Where are you going?
what are you doing? You see it all over Facebook. I mean, I've had to delete Facebook. I had a bit of a rant on there a couple of days ago. And then I've had to delete it because I just can't fucking deal with it.
Yeah,
It's
good
too much.
move, Harry, because
too much.
it's a terrible way to communicate.
Everyone's just slagging everyone else off. And
Yeah,
that
and everybody's bored now,
I've
and
been
they've got
there
all the
before.
time in
how
the
do you
world.
know Karen's in there buying stuff she don't need? Do you know what I mean? Because you're obviously in there watching her.
But then
And
we're
yours is essentially hers in. Do you know what I
exactly,
mean?
and then by us all having an opinion on that and getting on the feed and
Keeping
waiting
us
for the
divided.
comeback, and you're just wasting your fucking life. It's a terrible. I think that's one thing we're realising at this point. Anyway, coronavirus.
It's the Me Too
aside.
movement again, isn't it? Everyone's just jumped on the bandwagon.
But
And I'm not saying it's not for good reason. Obviously, it is. People are dying, but is the cause and effect balancing out? Do you know what I mean? Is it balancing out? Do you know what I mean? I don't see it is, because for me, the way I see it is there's millions and millions of people that are going to
Behind
be
the table, Harry.
severely affected by it for a long, long time. Do you know what I mean? A long, long time. And when you look at the nature of, the deaths from the virus, yeah, there's been a few people, younger, fit, healthy people who have died, but not many. Let's be
It's
fucking
supposed to be a
honest.
lethal virus,
not
wasn't it?
many. Most people that are dying are old, who've had their best years. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
And I'm not saying that it's all right for them to die either. I'm just saying, when you weigh up the fucking balance of everything, to me, it doesn't.
Is all this justified?
Yeah, it doesn't seem justified to me.
it's difficult to.
How many people die in wars every fucking year? Do you know what I mean? When that's where we're fighting for the freedoms that we're giving away now. It just seems.
Yeah, and
just seems
you say balance
illogical.
and weigh it up. It's like you don't know what to weigh up because everything's conflicting. Everything's conflicting. The only thing that seems to be solid and linear and kind of imprinted is stay home, save lives. Stay home, save lives. And
Act as if you've got it. That's one of the latest things I've seen.
Yeah, but I haven't.
Act as if
what,
you've
that's
got
come
it.
from the establishment.
How
saying
many
Yeah, and
people,
quite,
right?
quite a scary looking advert, I'll have you know.
How many people that are already depressed and, fucking on the edge of life, and now everything's come to a stop. Everything's come to a stop and that, and then how much worse is it going to get for them? How many people aren't going to be able to see a future out of this? Because to be honest, I'm finding it hard to see how my life, because I want to buy an house. You know what I mean, I'm 33, I want to buy an house, but am I going to be able to buy an house in the next 10 years? Do you know what I mean? Nobody knows, and it almost seems like, well, what's the point?
And we're not going to know this. This is going to take so much time, to implement. What measures are they going to try and put in place to get back to some sense of normality? Do you know what I mean? We're only going to know as and when.
Well, when they tell us, and we just
exactly.
And one of the core things of history and human civilization is the challenging of power. If you can't let one single entity have too much power. That's why we have governments that have, different parties. That's why we have military forces, so that other countries can't, we don't have a repeat of the Nazi situation, and that you can't let anyone have too much power. Or so many people have fought their whole lives to win rights for us because, the people in power don't want it. They want more power and they want more control, and that is why everything has been structured how it has for the whole of history. And then in this one fell swoop with a virus that, when you look at the real number, it's not as bad as it seems.
Well, you say they're the real numbers. That's what my point. My point is we don't know anything that's real. Yeah, there's a virus. But is there always viruses? Right?
Of course there is.
And is there influenza that kills massively, some years more than others, but generally kills a lot? Yes, there is. There's so many. It's like tying it into the social media thing for me is like, if you decide to talk about that particular thing all day, every day, that's the thing that's at the fore of your mind and at the fore of your processing, and that's the thing you're talking about. And that's what we're doing with this. In the same way that in social media, we're all fucking shouting into the void and telling, no, you're wrong, I'm right, 67 comments in, and waiting for the comeback, and, oh, should I have wrote that? Oh, and all that energy and time. I mean, there's nothing really to balance there either.
I looked on the government website for death statistics, and they have a report every week, all cause deaths, so all deaths in this country. And in week 13, 2019, official government documentation, there was 10,402 deaths. The main cause was influenza type A, which is flu, and that's for that 1 week. In the same week this year, which was up to April 6th, which is the worst week so far, there was 10,645 deaths. So there's 243 difference, yeah? So out of those 10,000 fucking 500 people, 8% of them were going to die that week, whether this virus was here or not. It might have sped it along a bit, but if you base it on last year's numbers, and I didn't go back through all the years, and I'm not a mathematician or a scientist, I just took those 2 months, corresponding months from the same, or weeks from the same week on each of the years. And there's been 243 more deaths this year than there was last. But if you watch the news, there's been 900 deaths in 24 hours from coronavirus. Yeah, and my question is, how many is that? 900 more than what would have died today, or is a lot of them people going to die today anyway? Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, if you base it on those government statistic figures, then 243 people in that 7-day period have died when they shouldn't have. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like literally, they were normal, upright, walking people, and all of a sudden they got.
Well, maybe not, but
touched someone and they got
where their time came early or whatever, and and it might get a bit more in the next few weeks. That's and the whole point of this lockdown is that we would keep that number low, which is great. But how low is that number based on the cause and effect that it's going to have on all those other millions of people and their way of life? Do you know what I mean? How many people are going to commit suicide? How many people are going to be in domestic violence cases? How many kids are going to miss out on their education and all that? All these different things. How many businesses are going to close down all over the world? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that we should chuck people under the bus, but that's what we do. Because when those kids in fucking Africa are dying, in the most mineral-rich country in the world,
8,000 a day die.
We all know that's happening. We all see them £3 a week fucking adverts, don't we? But we silently accept it because we know that if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have our nice fucking jewellery and our diamond rings, which has always baffled me. How can a little stone be worth so much money, like. But and then like iPhone, you know, we know that they've got nets around the iPhone factory buildings because the fucking people are jumping out of them all the time. So we know all this is happening all day, every day, but we accept it because we understand that in order for us to have our stuff and our nice life and our way of being, that these people in the other side of the world are going to die for that. Do you know what I mean? We accept that every day. So why is it all of a sudden now? Because it's your grandma, you've got to protect your grandma and your granddad and that, and you know it's a member of your family. It's the way it's been put onto us. It's like, and it's like, well, you like, it's like everybody's fucking got a gun on you, and it's like, well, all right, yeah. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't. We've all been sort of shocked into, and panicked into this movement that is a global movement, and everybody's on the train, man. But I don't think we've looked at it clearly enough. I don't think we've thought about it long enough and hard enough to decide whether or not we've done the right thing. And I'm keeping a close eye on Sweden because they haven't. I mean, they're doing social distancing, but they're not enforcing lockdown. I mean, they're keeping their economy as
business is still going moving, and people's lives aren't interrupted to the point where
so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm just worried about it. It just doesn't seem to add up to me. I mean, I'm no expert in anything.
When they say that it's, say, for example, like 900 and something deaths, are they deaths caused solely from coronavirus, or are these people that have died?
If it was, then think of all those, every day you see that number they give you. Then when I looked at that government page, surely it should be 10,400 last year and fucking 15,700 this year, shouldn't it?
whatever the equivalent
Yeah.
the corona additional deaths are.
But what I kept noticing when I'm looking at the news is after being testing positive or after contracting virus. Do you know what I mean?
Not having died.
You know, there's only the odd news presenter, like all the wording and all the main context is after being testing positive or whatever. But the odd reporter will say from coronavirus. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, if you've got like pneumonia or something already, and then you get the coronavirus and you end up dying because you know your body wasn't strong enough to deal with it, then it's obviously had an effect. But you know, you were already in that state. That was already there, wasn't it? And what was I going to say? I had another point to make then.
Just shuffle round a bit, Harry, because you're animated when you're passionately talking and you're kind of cornered in. It's what you keep highlighting to me is kind of my gut feeling is like there's this thing's happening. There is a disease, right? There's a disease. There is a COVID-19. It's out there, right? But whether the way that the rhetoric is given back to us, the narrative is given back to us, is that it's like wildfire. Like this thing is like absolutely like kind of AIDS epidemic level of like, well, Jesus just think Christ.
Just go back right to the 80s, and I saw this earlier. I was reading about this earlier. Back in the 80s, people thought that you could catch HIV from shaking hands.
Yeah,
and it was Princess Diana that was shaking AIDS victims' hands that went global and that, and then people started. So you've just got to look back at history. Fucking doctors used to advertise cigarettes.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? We don't always know what the best thing is to do. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of the time when we look back, we think, oh, fucking, that was a bit silly, wasn't it? Maybe we shouldn't have gone and got all them African kids and stuck them in that boat and brought them here to... Do you know what I mean? We look back in hindsight and we realise that actually that probably wasn't the best thing to do. And I think that's something that should be done now in this fucking global catastrophe.
It's definitely healthy to have
an
open mind, isn't it? You've got to question your sources, always.
I think on the positive side of this then, you know, because I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, which I'm sure many people watching, listening to this are probably feeling, which is you want to adhere to do what's right and safe.
Let me just say, I'm not... Yeah, I've been at home for about 5 weeks.
Yeah. We're all doing what we're saying. We're doing our studio podcast now, which is an isolated studio. We're brothers. We've all done our quarantine. We're all here doing our job, trying to get some fucking revenue off of our YouTube, because what else are we going to do?
This is it. What do we do?
You know, so we're doing what we're doing. But on the positive side of it, what I've noticed from people is it feels like people have slowed down and had a chance to actually fucking like recognise themselves a little bit and go, fuck. Actually,
reconnect with family and that, which is great. And I'm really open. I'm sorry for butting in like.
No, you're all right. You're excited. Go for it.
I've got shit I need to get out.
I'm going to stay on the brandy. Actually.
But for me, I feel like it could go one or two ways. I feel like everybody could be at home for so long they sit back and think, actually, you realise, because you see all these memes coming up, don't you? You know, you realise the fast car and the fancy clothes and the fucking all that don't really matter. What matters is your time and your family and good food and all that sort of stuff. So like, I feel like there's a way we could have some sort of spiritual revolution based on that, and then almost revolt the power structure that is trying to fucking just net everybody in, if you know what I mean. Or everybody's just like, save me, save me, save me, and they'll take anything that the government...
everybody just treads water.
I think both things are going to happen. You'll have a portion of people who absolutely, without question, just follow protocol and don't even question it. And, you know, the man on the telly said, so we wouldn't, but, you know, that's it. And then there'll be the people who are stopping to take stock and kind of look around and maybe question, where is their life going? Do I need to work fucking 70 hours a week just to keep this wolf from the door? Or I feel like I've got to know my daughter in the last 3 weeks because I'm always providing.
I don't want to.
Again, a cultural narrative is that you provide. Dads don't know their kids, right? And kids get up to like 20 years old. I don't really know my dad. He's always working. He's working hard for us.
Because
we know that narrative, right? But what does that really mean? Because we never had enough money to do anything, did we? No, we can't afford it. We've never got any money. Yeah,
but Dad's always working that.
And I don't have a bond with my dad, and then like it feels weird and like all this, you know. So like, I think lots of people are probably looking at that and thinking, and there'll be a portion of people who do kind of recalculate.
If you think back to when we mentioned about the people who built the cathedral and how there was generations of people who didn't, you know, they didn't see it finished. They didn't know what they were doing it for. They were just going to work every day. And like, if you talk about what you was just talking about then, everybody just sort of turned around and says, well, actually, you know, that's not the best thing for me, is it? The best thing for me is to, you know, whatever that is for them.
So on that note then, for me...
But then the cathedral never gets built, does it? But do we need it?
If on that note though, for me...
I mean...
For me, I mean, if that's
we'll
do a poll on that. We'll do a voting. Do we need the cathedral?
Thousands of people could have had a better life.
Shall we knock it down and put a fucking
5 people a day, Dad, building that?
The cathedral's awesome.
5 people a day.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. In this conversation, if we're gonna use the kind of moral, you know, sort of proverbials.
It's the same thing. We accept.
Should we build this? Why would we build this? If 5 people.
When you came back from Thailand and you was on your way back to Lincoln, what was the first thing you saw?
We went to see was the castle.
But did you see as you coming into Lincoln?
Cathedral,
and you see it and you think home,
cafe.
But is that little moment for me worth 5 people a day?
That's not
while they're building it. No, I know it's not. But
okay,
think about
a counter argument to that then. So in that quest, in a noble quest to build something greater than man, to build something that lives longer than time, you know, the
legacy.
The cathedral was the tallest man-made structure on the earth
since the Great Pyramids.
Until
the Eiffel Tower. No.
There was a storm. It had a spire on the top originally.
It used to have a spire, and for something like 200 years, it was the tallest building on the. Yeah. But that aside, so is that for the greater good? People going to do their craft, do their craftsmanship for a lifetime to kind of
to build a culture. That's what I'm saying about history.
And
our entire history has been built on that. You know, people would get on ships and sail across the sea, not knowing if there was even anything there, because they're doing it to do you know what I mean?
Well, let's stay on this positive vibe, because I would like to say Joey Diaz, Church of What's Happening, who gets a shout on this podcast pretty much every episode that we do, because he's a beast. He's done some really cool, and he's been through the whole lineage at the minute. At first he was like, then he was mask on in the thing, then the mask's back off, and he's kind of like, he was in the park with his daughter, and someone spotted it was him, and they were like, Joey Diaz, you know, wanted to shake his hand, and he was
Get the fuck away, cocksucker.
But I love what his little message is. He was saying, and it inspired me with what we're doing now, you know, he was saying, look, now is the time. You know, if you can't go to work, if you've got time on your hands now, if you wanted to be that fucking garage band and make it to the fucking big stage, get in your garage, start playing now. Yeah. You know, if you wanted to be the whatever, you know, you wanted to learn that Spanish, you wanted to learn that guitar, whatever it was, do it now. This fucking thing's happening, right? So pivot and fucking create something in the backdraft of it.
Self-electric guitar.
Yeah. And how are you getting on with it?
I got a letter from your neighbour telling me he heard me playing and that. And
do you want to join his band?
We should get together. He said we should get together when it's all over and jam and that.
Really?
Yeah. Did he spray some cologne on it as well? Yeah.
I honestly thought you were going to say then. I thought you were going to say then.
I did a bit of a piss take. I took a picture of it, put it on Facebook saying, it was a joke.
This is before you left Facebook, yeah?
Yeah. This was a couple of weeks ago before I got into that.
Yeah.
Just saying, seeing as obviously it's fall time and everyone's at home and that, I felt like I wanted to give back to the community, so I've bought an electric guitar to entertain the neighbours.
Yeah.
Obviously, play on loud music.
Yeah.
And then obviously I got that letter through the door saying, fucking heard you playing.
Was it handwritten?
Yeah, it was handwritten.
Oh, we're back in the old school. He maybe worked in a cathedral.
And that.
He might have wrote it with a feather.
Anything.
He might have wrote that with a
It looked like he did. He looked like he was struggling, bless him.
But I honestly thought you were going to say then that he was like, excuse me, this is not acceptable at this time, I'm under stress and all that.
It was cool. It was good.
Yeah,
And
that's
That's
nice.
the community. Almost.
yeah, and that's what I hope carries on. But I just feel like with the rules, mate, they're just going to try and lock that
But
shit
as we're
down.
saying that there's people at home that are, sort of rekindling old hobbies or whatever, and relationships with family, there'll be some people that are having a meltdown.
Oh, God,
And
there'll
they're
be a lot of
thinking that
people.
fucking wife, by the way, I didn't realise.
Yeah,
A
but
lot of people.
let's pull a positive
Well,
out
this
of
is vice
that.
versa, by the way, I'm sure.
Will that pull a positive out of that though? Will this make people
Oh,
go,
yeah.
actually, I've been fucking miserable for years,
Yeah.
and actually,
It will.
I
they're
don't-
on lockdown
I don't
right now,
need,
then.
yeah, I can't move out.
For the first time in history, that continuous line that everybody's just going on every day of finishing school and getting a job and doing it stopped. It's just stopped dead, and everyone's like, "What? Just got what?" And then people are starting to fucking discover shit they didn't know about.
Well, I think if we hang on to that, that's something to look at.
Definitely, but then you mentioned conflicting earlier, and I feel like I'm sort of on the other side of the fence because there are a lot of people at home, but there's also I don't know if it will be a minority that are at work. So and I'm one of those.
Yes.
So for me, it's sort of like business as usual. Do you know what I mean? It's conflicting in the sense of that you see people's behaviour change, but in terms of you're just carrying on with work, so it's hard to sort of.
How's it been for
Yeah.
you, like going to different people's homes then, and how are people like hid behind the curtains? "Ooh,
Well, it's
he's here.
it's hard. I mean,
Bottle of
it's sort
Dettol behind the door.
At first, yeah. I mean,
wiping the letters down.
I was delivering to a village the other day, and as I was coming up the driveway, there was this old woman, and she sort of, "Oh, the postman's here, the postman's here," and sort of rose to her feet, and gave me a good 10 meters, not 2. And
Dive into the bomb shelter.
Yeah, but then
I'd like to
there's
say as well, for
Anderson
people
shower.
not watching, just listening, the hunky postman's here.
hunky
Yeah,
postman.
the hunky postman.
I get a lot of nice legs, which is a bit weird, actually.
I like your legs, Mr. Postman.
Yeah.
So you've been getting all sorts of. What about
Well-
people who are cool? Is there some
Well, it's
people who are
weird,
like, look,
well, it's affected me in a way because as this has all sort of happened, I'd see people behaving like that, and I'd be like, I'd sort of giggle to myself and sort of go along with it, like, are we doing this sort of thing? And then when someone would be a little bit more laid back and come and try and take it out of my hand, I'd be like,
yeah. So you're kind of messed up with
yeah, so
gauging.
I'm
what
just-
just-
yeah,
And you know what I mean? I'm the same when I'm in the shops and that. I don't like. Some people are trying to keep
Constantly
away, they're waiting for you to
reacting,
go past,
aren't
and
you?
then other people are just walking straight through and that, and you're like,
I've
'cause
been-
to me, I'm.
Well, you
I've
mentioned a good point about being in the shop that everyone behaves like that, and then you walk up to the cashier and then hand them all your shit. You're right there still. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
they're all
It's-
just everyone's touching everything, giving everything, and like that's the one place in the whole country that everybody is going
He's
to go
going.
to.
Yeah.
It's the only place you're allowed to
I
go.
think there's
What
still
with
a lot
them
of-
St Hugh's Co-op?
Well, any
Yeah.
food
That's
shop,
what it feels
innit?
like.
Any food shop.
Well, you literally walk out your back door and you're in the queue. You're like, fuck hell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're literally queuing that.
Just fucking go
Even
like
the
every
cars in the
round.
car. I took a picture of all the cars in the car park were a space apart and all.
But that's something that's affected me because I went like today. I wanted to go to the shop. It's been a warm day. The workload's increased because obviously everyone's at home ordering. I've touched on it last podcast. Ordering essentials.
Yeah.
A lot of sunbeds.
Are you still doing flyers? Tell me there's no more
No, still
flyers.
doing the
Has it
flyers.
changed? Are you seeing any changes in trends and that?
Just
I mean,
big parcels. Obviously, you can't
like
always
paddling pools and shit.
Yeah, well, everyone's
Now
out.
it's been a bit silly.
Everyone's out. You hand someone a parcel and then you see him break it out and sit on it 5 seconds later. So the workload
Yeah, not
has
a
increased.
care in the world about where that's come from or who touched it or
Yeah.
fucking
Well,
nothing.
yeah,
really,
of
what's
course.
going
It's my
on?
Amazon
So, I mean-
parcel. I've been waiting for this for 2 days,
So
mate.
it's
What
come
are
from
you
Amazon. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
Do you know what I
Eh?
mean?
I hope Jeff's touched it. Mr. Bezzo. Yeah.
Like, do you reckon they've got like contamination units in the fucking depots and that?
No.
Well, in order to work as
Why
fast as
wouldn't
they do,
have?
you
Why wouldn't
can't.
they have? If you're closing down everything, yeah, and you're keeping all the essentials going, surely the news should be right. Look what Amazon are doing to protect everybody.
Yeah,
Look,
but
they're
no.
treating. You know, they've got this fucking alcohol spray that. None of that.
How
Yeah,
could
but
they
they
work
can
as
do
to
that.
It's
such
just fear.
to such
They can do that for
efficiency?
public appearance.
Yeah, and put a
abide
clever
by
bit
that.
of
But
nice
when they're in the
video.
sorting office, I'm telling you, the volume is it's too great to abide by.
Nobody's doing shit, and a lot of that stuff's coming from all over the world as well, isn't it?
Well,
China
like you
mostly.
said, didn't somebody's sneakily taken a video, haven't they, of one of the sorting officers or something?
Yeah, I think it was on a news night. I don't know what region it was. But yeah, someone did like a little dispatches undercover.
So it's like
sort
one of those
filmed
old
it,
like
yeah,
slaughterhouse videos.
Yeah, and they
this
used
is
it
what
as,
really
as an
happens.
example, is and like I say, sort of business as usual. But
Well, I went into the co-op and there was fucking 5 of them. They shut the aisle off both ends with trays of food, like trolleys of food and that. And there was 5 of them, and I remember standing there watching because they were like, "No, you can't go down there." Like, I was like, "All right, I'll stay here." And I was watching them, and there was 5 people, all within 2 square meters. You're in the co-op, yeah. So the aisle's not even 2 meters wide, is it? They're all within fucking 2 square meters, and they're stacking vegetables on shelves. All wearing just t-shirts, no hair nuts, laughing and joking, no nothing, just completely normal and that. But you've got to stay there. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. And then it's like, right, can I come down here and pick up some of this stuff you lot have been touching now?
Yeah. It is so conflicting.
It's
It is
just
so
bizarre. It's just
conflicting, yeah.
confusing. I find it really confusing.
And if you walked out of the co-op or fill in your local shop of choice, and you were looking at boarded up windows and desolate,
Yeah, and bodies
like,
in the street.
the kind of thing that it's kind of making you feel like, but you're not actually seeing. But then you've got the guilt thing going on internally where you're like, well, something's happening, so got to
Right.
keep doing what we're doing. But this is
Yeah.
what I think I'm picking up a little bit in my world is the more I'm speaking to conservative people, like people that I would assume, using my judgment, that are kind of like pretty regimental and, regally following, all the precautions without necessarily doing any other thinking. Even I'm starting to see a little bit of wonder and like,
Yeah, because the novelty's starting to wear off. The honeymoon period. We're all at home. It's like it's a new thing. Anything that's new has got a sparkle, whether it's a disaster or not. It's got a certain energy,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Well,
Where
it's novelty,
excitement.
that's what it
do you
is,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And after a few weeks, that's starting to. That's why you watch the news now. And it's all about it's really working. You just got to keep doing it. We're all doing so. They're just encouraging because they know people are starting to get to the point where they're thinking,
that's
are we
where
ready to go back to work? Yeah,
your
I thought-
saving lives bit comes in.
Yeah, that's why they've got to keep
Act
pushing
as
that
if
message.
You've got it.
Is that
Do you know
what
what I
has that
mean?
really been said on a
Tell you, it's
on a
scary
television?
video.
news.
There was a dude stood there in a quarantine, dark background, and it was act as if you've got it, and I was like,
Jesus, that's heavy.
It was heavy. Didn't
That
sit
is
right.
heavy.
It didn't sit heavy.
Do you know what I mean? And you got people who've got just completely fear shocked by it. It's rabbits in the headlights all over.
All right,
That's
well,
all
listen.
you're gonna get when you turn the television.
Listen, let's move on to the more positive aspects of it now. What you been watching? What you been listening to? What you been doing? How you been spending your time? And only the bits we
Well-
can publicly talk about.
It's funny you say that because I've watched a couple of good documentaries on Netflix.
Okay.
First one, The Pharmacist, and the second one, How to Fix a Drug Scandal.
Oh well, I bet that plays straight back into this.
Well, at the end of the day, again, this brings me back to like questioning stuff and accepting that what we see as authority doesn't always go by the book. They basically, we'll go to the How to Fix a Drug Scandal one first because that's a bit more in tune with it. But basically, the story is there's when you get caught with drugs by the police, those drugs get tested. Yeah, they get sent to a laboratory, and then laboratories have to test that and tell you what it is. And then if you've got drugs, then they say blah blah blah. So there's in Massachusetts.
Not again, Harry, look, because
There's one in-
all flopping behind you.
There's one in Boston. There's one there's one in the east, and there's one in the west. Yeah. So in this state, there's-
Boston, USA, America.
Well, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say names because I can't remember the name of the other one. So let's just say east and west. Yeah. There's 2 labs that service this whole area.
Okay.
So there's probably 7 or 8 cities that all. If anybody in these cities get caught with drugs, it goes to one of these labs and it gets tested, right? And the first lab, that was this chick was literally just picking up bags of samples. So she'd go into the thingy and that, and she'd get. They're all overrun. These labs are completely underfunded. They're not being ran properly anyway. Do you know what I mean? And then this chick, she's just picking up samples of like 10 of each that look the same. So if it's same colour, same sort of style, whatever, she'd pick them all up and she was like testing one of them and then filling out all the documentation for all of them. So like they weren't testing every single one. Do you know what I mean? So there's people going to jail when this person's been
So like in Narcos, when he's got a fucking lorry load
Yeah.
of
Well, one of
kilo
them-
bars and he just whips one open and
yeah.
we dig it.
Yeah, so that one's coke, but the other ones could have been anything.
Yeah.
So, and there's like
Is that a government setup? Is that a government?
Yeah, it's,
or is it an independent thing or what? Is it what
well,
is it?
basically what the way it works is if you're on a trial, if you're being accused by somebody, yeah, so you've been arrested for possession of drugs, right? And it might be that you fucking in a gunfight with a load of fucking another gang and that, and you got nicked and you've got drugs on you. Whatever the case. You've had drugs on you. Those drugs have been tested, yeah. So when you're being accused of having drugs, it's not the police that's accusing you of having drugs because the police don't know what it is.
It's the science.
It's the scientist who has
determine
tested
that
that
that's
drug.
an illegal substance.
Yeah, and then that scientist is saying this is fucking illegal. You know, I've proved that this is that drug. So what I mean? So, but then when they find out this person hasn't tested that drug, it's like, well.
Is that a reverse charge then? Does that
No,
mean
it
that
should be, but when there's thousands and thousands of cases over like 10 years,
It's like 30,000, wasn't it?
yeah, something like
Have
that.
you seen it, Joe?
1,000 cases.
You watched it?
I watched like half an episode, but Netflix do that little trailer title sequence thing, don't they? Where if you just hover over it,
Yeah.
it does look compelling.
And then, but then within months, like a few months, the other lab, she gets fucking done as well. But she's been taking everything. She's been on it since day
Like,
one.
as a user?
As
Yeah.
a user.
Oh.
So they've got these mediums or these standards they call them that they use to test stuff. So they've got like methamphetamine, amphetamine. They've got all these different things. And she was fucking just dipping the bottles. So she was literally just dipping the bottle every day.
Having a great time.
Finished everything in the
She
lab.
loved her job, didn't she?
Literally finished everything in the lab, and she was like, well, when all these parcels were coming through and that, she was just taking all the gear out of them, and she was off her tits. She was
literally just cutting open
Yeah.
like the little paper bags and stuff, wasn't she?
but like part of like
Plastic
the
bags,
story is that she confesses through immunity, like because they didn't know the scope of basically because of the first one that happened. They tried to shut the second one up. The bird who was getting off her tits and that all day. They tried to sort of like say, oh, it was just 2 counts, it was, because they didn't want all the scandal, all the press, and all the.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they tried to dismiss it, but these defence solicitors who had their clients in jail, they were like, nah, and they just kept fighting it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so you just did the one.
Yeah,
Just
and they're
one.
like- and they just didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to know about it. And then these defence lawyers just kept going and going and going, and they proved it. There's like tens of thousands of people, and then it became a thing about, well, we've got to let these people go. You can't keep them in jail now because, it's not
innocent,
it's-
basically.
Yeah. Well, whether they are or not, the process
Of
is,
that particular
is
charge.
contaminated.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She's not a trustworthy fucking
Compromised.
witness. So, and it just shows you, like, the point about talking about this is it shows you that you can't just trust just because that's how it's
The
set
authority,
up
yeah.
and that's how it is. It doesn't mean it's working, right? Does it?
Well, I think that's where we really
So,
are
man.
at a crossroads with the internet and the availability of information now, and getting behind the curtain of a certain mainstream narrative all the time. And I don't mean in conspiratorial terms all the time. I'm not sat here with a tinfoil hat on. I just mean once upon a time you had a choice of 4 things. I'm old enough to know that you put that channel on, that channel, that channel. There's 4 things to watch. Big conglomerate companies who schedule the viewing to suit the demographic, to suit the nation and the culture. And then this thing popped out over a couple of decades that just fucking barged past that, and just, amongst like everything, the
It's
dark and the
user
light.
created now, isn't it?
But
It's
you're
not
getting
so much-
access to things like you can go on, WikiLeaks. You can get access to,
We're creating it now.
exactly, yeah. Just seeing another human's point of view. I mean, we're having a drink and a smoke and a tic tac, and no one should take us seriously about this coronavirus or anything like that in terms of what we're saying. It is, it isn't, or whatever. We don't know. That's what we are saying. But the
Nobody
idea
knows.
that we're just having a conversation, and instead of everybody getting around, the television at 6 o'clock, what's Boris going to say? Oh my God! Actually, this conversation's happening in houses up and down the country, around the world.
Yeah, but
and you
people
shouldn't
have got
feel
limited
guilty.
information on what they're looking at because it's such a
Well, that's what I'm saying.
thingy
It's
subject,
what the
and it's
internet's
such
given.
mainstream. They're only getting that. They're only getting BBC and Sky and that. They're only getting these things. Do you know what I mean? But with this level of fucking situation,
Global.
you need to look at as much shit as you can.
What's the other one you watched?
Pharmacist.
I've started that one.
The Pharmacist. Similar in it's about, obviously drugs. But this is about like.
Well, it isn't really.
This,
though, is
no,
it?
but this goes into like the pharmaceutical industry, and it goes into like like the sales side of it all. And how like there was one doctor in New Orleans, like this was just before Katrina. There was one doctor in New Orleans who had prescribed fucking millions and millions and millions of oxycodone. Like you've heard about it. Everyone's heard about it.
Heroin in a pill.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the painkiller, like fucking.
Yeah.
And you hear about it. Everybody in America's addicted to it. It's worse than fucking everything, isn't it? And there's just this one doctor prescribing like the whole fucking city, mate. And it talks to like the sales reps. They've got the sales reps, and he's telling you about his role in that and fucking how it got. And again, it was like nobody wanted to go near her. Nobody wanted to go near her. And you're looking at it and you're watching it and you're thinking, how is this happening?
Did you listen?
And like when you've looked at all the dark side of things, and like, you look at it and you think, well, there's only one way she could get. Well, not only one way, but you've got to look at the fucking fact that she's being allowed to do that. Do you know what I mean? And but again, how much money was they making off of this pill?
I did an
It's
episode.
one to watch that.
Yeah, well, I'm halfway through it, and it's interesting, and we won't spoil it to death, but we're talking about it, and that's how this goes, so we'll spoil it to death. The guy's young son, so the pharmacist, his son is killed in a basic drug transaction on a
Murdered.
Yeah, it's nothing
murdered.
to do with oxytocin, but he's a
No.
pharmacist, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a pharmacist, and he just works in the pharmacy, and he's just a lovely guy in the neighbourhood.
But it's good to point out that he himself explains how he's just a guy living his life, and because he's never seen that side of life,
He's never inspected
oblivious
it,
to
yeah. And he'll just
He's
read the
oblivious to it.
headline.
And then since his son died through something drug related and his attention was brought in that direction, he started to notice all these people coming in for this oxytocin, and he's thinking, hang on a minute, you don't seem like. So he started to question it. So that's a good
And he has a
situation
ferocious
to look at for
appetite.
everybody to think, hang on a minute, I need to take a step back here.
He's got a really ferocious appetite, and the way he goes in kind of just passionately and nobly.
Oh, he's brilliant. He is.
And he doesn't carry a gun. And this thing for people at home, check it out, watch it. But it happens on a like a black project, like on a very impoverished, deprived
it's
black area.
New Orleans,
Yeah, where you don't
Hurricane
go.
Katrina.
These kids on there who haven't even left the fucking place. They didn't know there was trees and green grass and stuff. But he goes in so nobly, and he wants to obviously find out the narrative to his son's death, but then that leads him into why are we like this, which is kind of our conversation. Why are we all, as a collective, always just seeming to just shuffle along together for some kind of safety, but in doing that, without being independently thinking or
causing
critically
fucking
thinking, we're going
trauma,
in, always going into the wrong area. It feels like it's a really I'm enjoying that. I'm about 2 or 3 episodes into that, and it's I'm enjoying it. It's good. Have you seen any of that one?
Pharmacist.
Yeah.
No.
What about you, G-Ride? What are you on with?
No, nor have I. I've literally just finished Narcos.
Oh, you've been loving the Narcos.
We're on the
haven't you?
Spanish thing at the moment.
Yeah, but the past few nights, I'm telling you, I've been a bit restless. I can't seem to really sort of sit down and watch anything.
And what do you think that's down to? Is that
I think
just
what's going on.
wondering what's happening? And
Yeah, I really do. I think it's just the unknown of what's next. Where are we going?
I think that's going to be the worst part of this. I think what happens next is going to be the most difficult bit, certainly financially, trying to rebuild businesses. I mean, you guys, you work within the that sector, so you're going to be business as usual, but trying to rebuild the economy, I mean, think about it. The crash that we had in 2009, 10, 8, whenever it was.
8, I think.
I mean, that took 10 years to kind of just actually get back to a point of growth, if you want to call it growth. But when we get out, I mean, everything's just ground to a halt. People like cinemas, you mentioned it in the last podcast. I don't think Odeon and companies like that are going to be able to do it. And you think all the people that spent time at home watching Netflix, watching Prime, realising, I just fucking watch it here and it don't cost me 60 quid to take the kids to watch whatever it is. I watched Sonic last night, yeah? Sonic the Hedgehog.
The new one?
Yeah.
Is that the Jim Carrey?
Yes, yeah.
What did
Is
you
it
think?
Jim Carrey?
Is it Jim Carrey, is it?
Yeah, he's Dr. Robotnik. So it's, spoiler alert, it's it's really good. It's done in a kind of, ham and eggs, just fucking is what it is. They do you a little kind of So it's motion capture. So Sonic is in our world. Yeah. So he's kind of like,
How old Sonic?
I would say he's probably
112.
80s.
late 80s, wasn't he? I think. So he's got to be. He's about your age.
I think there's some Egyptian imprint somewhere of Sonic the Hedgehog.
There must be.
No.
Well,
Sonic,
it's funny you say that.
It just rolled up
Sonic
in a
was
ball.
90s because it was Mario Brothers that was the main thing, and then Sega
had their
had to do
version of
something.
things,
They had
yeah.
to do something, and they did Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, the film itself. So my kids.
Do you know what? I watched a documentary about it. There was something on about it the other week.
What's Sonic or Sega?
No, about video game, about computer games and like the history of computer games and how they sort of like a Nintendo dominated.
evolving,
And you look at the figures and that, it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
even to this day, like Super Mario Brothers is in like the top 15 most sold fucking games ever.
Yeah. And gaming is the biggest
And
industry.
when was the
now,
last
isn't it?
time they bought one of them at? It's mental.
Icons, aren't
Well, when we sort of sat down last night, which we often do, Friday night is a family film pizza night. We get a pizza takeout and we sit down and we kids choose a film, and we just done the Harry Potter whole thing, which was amazing. Another one of those moments where I was like looking and thinking, this is what it is, man.
Harry Potter's amazing.
My kids are like, Friday night we're watching the next Harry Potter installation,
Yeah,
and
like
we've done a thing where we get the beds down, they go up and get the beds. It's like a little system. They go and get all the blankets, we make a bed in the front room, we get the pizza delivered, we let them choose a load of goodies, we get the goodies, turn the lights off, which we never do, or cinema, big telly, everything off.
Yeah, make an event out.
Yeah, and and because there was like 7 or 8 or whatever there is, 7 films, like they got, and it gets dark, and my kids are young, number 1, number 2, and number 3, they're young, and they coped phenomenally because it gets pretty crazy in Harry Potter.
evolved.
Yeah,
It's
but
somewhere-
you've created an
Safe.
environment. Yeah, you've created
Safe,
like a
safe, and telling them
world
when they
for
ask
them
questions,
to be
why is that one who looks like you, Daddy? Why is he
Which one's that?
Voldemort?
Bald head.
So that's been cool. I can't remember where that was going. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, so I built these nights where the kids really, Friday night, they know it's film night and it's lovely, and I'm aware that these are the moments. Yeah, this is what magic is. In lockdown, not in lockdown, I worked this out before lockdown came, but it's like, we live on a fucking wheel. It's a fucking mad wheel. And this whole podcast is born out of like, what is this? Are we these miracle human beings who just do admin? Or should we be recognizing that these little people that you're kind of growing, and when you become a parent, I'm not going to digress too far into being a parent, but what you really are is an earth guide.
Yeah.
It's like you fucking
teacher.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, right, I'll show you around. Right, this is what to fucking stay away from, and this is what to like try and dig out. So then movie nights are great, and we put Sonic on, and we had a Mega Drive. We got a Mega Drive because again, the oldest is at that age where it's kind of like everybody at school's got this and got that, and we've done a great job, as you lads are aware of, like not doing a job, which is we haven't had an open dialogue really about I want a phone, I don't want a phone. We're just busy. We're out and about. We're in the woods. We're drawing. We're painting and all that. And like it started to happen because the oldest one's in school. So okay, my wife and me were like, right, how do we fucking bridge this? Because you can't build utopia. You know what I mean? The world's the fucking world.
Your kids
No
either
way.
from society.
And you don't want to. You can't. It's just ludicrous. So what you got to try and do for us, or this is how we surmised it, was like, how do we kind of give them what it is they're after, which is this.
But tell them how it's bad for them.
Yeah, but there's a
In a
difference
way.
between giving them an
Well, not bad for
iPhone
them, but-
and then them starting to take pictures of themselves and like whatever, the crazy graphics, and I've got rabbit ears and all that, right? Which is fun on the surface. Or give them a retro, good old just game. Get from there to there without dying, with silly music, and it isn't trying to be real. It's this.
Yeah, it's.
So
yeah.
it was the Mega Drive with the, you get them now, the mini Mega Drive, all the games are built in and that, and like, and it's, Daddy, come and play this one, and we're playing Street Fighter 2, and I'm like, Sonny beat me 3 times in a row on Street Fighter 2 the other night. My eldest son beat me 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. But we've tried to do it in a healthy way where they know that this is time out. You know, you've been good. You can have a go on that game because we've been
the
out
thing
for
is,
our walk.
when he goes back to school and that, and his kids are like, and he's telling his mates, I was playing Street Fighter 2, and they're like, what's Street Fighter 2? And then that conversation goes back to their parents and that, and their parents are like, Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's happened when the oldest had his party. We had a Beatles party.
Yeah.
Which was partly my doing because we'd been to some
Partly.
kids. Well, it was his call, but I kind of steered him into it. But it was because we'd been to some kids' parties, and my kids were banging to the Beatles, like loving the Beatles, everything, music, songs, you know, like the meaning, Uncle Paul, Uncle John. And we went to a couple of kids' parties, and me and my wife were like, the fucking music. If you stop and listen to the music that's happening in here, which is just people.
Remember that Beat Bugs?
Yes, the Beatles. Yeah, well, we got on that when you mentioned
brilliant,
that.
wasn't it?
But at a party, all the parents are doing in a kind of a similar, not to bring it back to by now boring coronavirus, but that hive mindset. So they just put on like the latest, just put the fucking radio music on, which is like bump and grind and Rolexes and Audi TTs and
Can't have this,
you know,
bitch.
which is yeah, but you're not playing at a 6-year-old's birthday party because that subliminal message is not the greatest thing to just. You know, but we
it's
don't
easy,
stop
innit?
and think
I like
about
this
it.
one though. I like this
it's,
one.
Well, his
it's
Beatles
convenient.
party
It's
was
on all day, innit?
His Beatles party was born out of that. But coming back to what you said about other parents, it's like when we put the invites out, we got these things back going. Oh, his dad's over the moon. He's coming. The dad never comes to the parties, but he's coming. And everyone came, and we had an old school party to the Beatles. So that whole kind of notion there is like.
That was good and all. How the kids dressed up.
Yeah,
as the
we
Beatles,
was all dressed up, weren't we? We all had our gear on and that. It was great. It was different, and it was kind of where I'm bringing this to, which is it was in some kind of contact with something a bit more meaningful, or trying to be, than just everything now. Do you know what I mean? The latest this, the latest that, the upgrade of that, the upgrade of this. You know, they've got one, we need one. Like just
Well, that's coming into
slow
effect
it
now,
down
innit?
a bit.
Everybody's like essentials. You know, all that glamour. Meaningless, innit? Am I too far away?
Can't even get your hair cut.
I know, yeah. I've just thought, fuck it, I'm growing it. I'm gonna grow it.
Go for it. I don't have that problem.
I thought about shaving mine
I
personally.
thought about it, but I'm just gonna grow it, and then when the barbers are open, I'm gonna go in there and say,
This might
Hit
be
me
the
up.
start of
Hit me up
this
with
might be
something
the start
fresh,
of Harry Exotic. You might end up with a little
I thought about doing a mullet.
little flapper at the back.
Stick
Woo!
with a handlebar as well.
Just a little
Big
shoulder
fucking
blower.
Pull off a
It'd
handlebar.
look great under the helmet, wouldn't it? Though?
Just like a fucking Zorro.
Why don't you
blowing.
try it out in this lockdown? You can use
What,
the
a
time
handlebar?
to just
I can't because
experiment.
it gets really itchy, man.
It's on your
man.
mouth.
You have to get
That's
through
my
that, though.
beard. It's my beard.
Gotta
Yours
get
is
through
long,
that.
innit? Grey as fuck.
Grey, yeah.
Does that not
It's
annoy
about
you
6
though?
different colours.
Does it not annoy you when the hairs are in you? You can
Yours is
move
long
your
and all,
mouth
though.
around there, and they're all in your mouth. And
That's when you start getting
That's
wisdom.
it.
You
I
know,
find
when
that
that bit
Yeah.
curls under there,
Like
you start
that.
getting old man wisdom. You don't even know it. You just
Ideas
start
start coming
dropping
start
knowledge.
turning into a wizard.
Yeah, like start dropping
Start
old man
floating off
knowledge
your
when you've
fucking
got
chair.
when the moustache is touching the front tooth. No.
no, there's something about that. I can't do it.
I find it really irritating. I used to work in a bar, and this old boy, God bless him, he passed on actually. He used to come in and he used to wear, what are the Jack Nicholson glasses?
Oh God, yeah.
He used to wear them with a little trilby. Are they Wayfarers? Is that
yes,
what they're called?
Wayfarers. Yeah, the classic.
Yeah.
Classic Ray-Ban.
So
Yeah.
he'd wear the Wayfarers with a little trilby, and he'd come and sit at the stall. And he was an antique dealer, and he always had a
Was
story
he
to
not
tell.
CIA?
He might. He used to wear that sort of beige trench coat, and that. He did look
Flip
like a.
flops and that, and a notepad.
Yeah, it was almost like, you know, those glasses that you bought with the little nose and the mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had that, and whenever he talked to you, he was like one of those. He was like a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
You couldn't see his.
Yeah, it's
'cause
just
it
all
was
happening
He's always
underneath.
undercover, that's
Yes.
why. Isn't it?
Oh,
He was a cool dude.
that's where I was. Sonic. Fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. We watched Sonic the Hedgehog. Right. How did the fuck did we get onto that?
How did we get back to it?
I don't know. I just come back there when you were saying that wisdom, knowledge. The old man who, without talking, puppets, fuck knows, blue
Jim
hedgehog.
Carrey, fucking Dr. Robotic.
We put it on right, and you asked me, which way we're getting back to. What was it like? It was proper. It was proper, like you would expect it. You weren't trying to do anything fancy. It was kind of B movie. Do you know what I mean? Like egg and milk.
What did Sonic look like though? Did he look obvious CGI?
Sonic, brilliant. Looked really good. It's really clever how they did it. It was
Good.
clever. It looked
I
good.
saw a video of somebody carving him, Sonic.
What, out
the
of wood?
movie. No, out of,
Oh,
what was it? I don't know, carving it out of something.
What,
Or
for the
it might have
graphics?
even been making it out of plasticine.
well, I think there was.
They might have been
I think
making it
they,
out of
they
plastic,
do that
like,
thing where
you know, where you-
close-ups. They got the actual. There's a physical version of him, you
Yeah.
know, in a close-up shot, and then he's motion placed into obviously green screened into real stuff. But they've done it really well. They give you a little intro, so when you break in there, it starts and he's in the action. It's like fucking he's getting shot at by Mr. Robotnik and all that.
Doctor.
And he sort of pauses, and then he says, you know, and it's a proper. He's kind of like the typical Bart Simpson kind of a, you know, cool kid
So
with
as
a bit of cheek.
As he's running away, it freezes and it's like,
Yeah.
let me tell you how it happens.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. They haven't tried to make it clever. They've just done it belt and braces, like, you know. And it takes you to where he lives, which is Green Hill. So in his world, he's in Green Hill, and it is that first level, you know, with the grass with the
Yeah.
patchwork
boxes.
kind
And
of.
they're palm trees as well.
That's
aren't
it,
they?
yeah, and the rings, and that's how he transports. The rings are like black holes. He throws a ring, and and you go through like a portal.
I want to watch this.
Yeah, it's clever, and it gives you a little introduction, and he's like, I think he's kind of an orphan. He's being brought up by like this majestic, powerful owl woman thing. Anyway, and something goes wrong, and he's got to get out of town. And she's like, look, gives him.
He's got to get
Got to get out of town. She gives him a little bag. She gives him a little brown
Did
bag.
it have mushrooms in it?
And she said, well, if you'd have had mushrooms and this was happening, you'd have been like, yeah. This is
Sounds
what's
like
happening.
somebody already had them.
But he has to throw a ring, and she basically says, look, you only use the rings when you have to move on. Life's going to be changing for you. And he throws it, and he's in Earth, and blah blah blah. But it's that kind of, you seen Ted?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Is it
You haven't
Ted?
seen
Oh, yeah, with
Teddy
the teddy
Bear?
bear.
I find
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, but who's the dude who does the voice, the Family Guy?
Oh, Seth.
Oh, Seth
I just
Rogen.
can't. Yeah, that voice that he does for Ted just sounds like so many other characters.
Well, in
he
that
does.
set, that
Sounds like
relationship
I know
is
what
what
you
I'm
mean.
talking about. That dynamic between him kind of being like, "What the fuck," you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then like kind of going, "Oh, we're pretty cool." And there's some as a filmmaker or from that side of things, there's some really cool kind of set pieces, you know, where they're using slow motion and freeze screen and like motion within freeze screen. So there's like a
Spinning round.
yeah, there's a
So,
big
that's
classic
always baffled me.
motorbiker fight scene in it, and it kind of freezes, and because it's emulating, or that it's trying to sort of magnify Sonic's speed, isn't it? So it's showing everything, and then how fast Sonic is and what he does in the.
No,
And by the time-
like on Fast and Furious when they do the NOS and that, and all the fucking background was all blurry.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like you're about to bolt into DMT, fucking
Like when I fell off that
Level 2.
jumped off that fucking drop.
yeah. I'll have podcast number 8, I think. Yeah, but no, they've done it really, really well. Jim Carrey's obviously brilliant. You know, he just nails it on.
Interesting guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Guy.
He's nailed it on, and I really enjoyed watching it. Kids loved it, and I watched it again. But the whole proper point I'm trying to make here is that we put that on for film night for 30. It came up, it was available. We had it on the watch list. When's it going to be available on Prime? And it was available. It's like, it's $13.99, and my wife was like, "What, $13?" I said, "Look," I said, if we had just got in the car, and drove down and paid £6 to park.
Yeah,
And
about
then
15
£38
each.
quid for the tickets, for all 5 of us, and then fucking another £38 on nothing from the shop, because you've
Well,
got to get
you can take your own stuff in, can't you?
I don't know, but anyway, we didn't do that, and actually that £13 to watch it on your big telly with
not
your
allowed to
surround
anyway.
sound bar and all that, with the lights off, all of a sudden, getting back to the point before that,
Are
was
we on
like,
about Sonic still?
yes, after this thing, a cinema, when people are so used to just, I'll just spend the £12 on the film, own the film, we'll watch it, because that's what we've got to do. Then all of a sudden going back to a cinema after 6 months and going, right, it's £39 to watch this film, and the fucking about of parking and getting in there and touching people and who sat next to me, and that's
When was the
the
last
point.
time these seats were cleaned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. There's so many fucking holes in this.
But ironically,
What we're
the
doing.
fact that we've sterilised everything to death in the West, in terms of a general every day-to-day thing, obviously we've come through historically through plagues and through viruses and the elevation of science and vaccines and our
Immune systems.
but on a day-to-day thing, things coming back to selling things, basic fucking economics. The latest bleach that kills more bacteria than the last one did last week, and all that stuff, and we're bleaching, and everything's kind of cleaned and bleached, and that's a difficult thing for us. We're changing our ecology.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
we're killing
we're trying
our
to,
own
We're
immune
trying to
system
yeah, exactly.
day to day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking vaccines or medicines or that kind of thing, but like our deck, because we want to sell the product. you know, Dettol and bleaching fuck out of everything. Not only are we getting rid of natural like bacteria and microbiome,
But
that's
we're making ourselves
critical.
more vulnerable.
We're making ourselves more vulnerable, and we're inviting in all of these toxins, these foreign chemicals, all of this fucking God knows what it is. You know,
Yeah.
you've already sprayed your air freshener, you plugged your air freshener in, then you bleached all that. You know, then you pledged all, you know, all these different. You put all this under your arm, then you put that on your neck, then you put this in your mouth. You know, like if you stop and analyze that stuff, there's a hell of a lot of things going into your body that, if you do stop and look at it, you probably could cut some of that out. You know.
But
And things are
though, innit?
different.
It's easy. Life's easy, isn't it? Well, it was before this happened. So
Well,
we'll
this-
see. Maybe some people will
Start
think, actually, I
thinking.
don't need to fucking spend 90 quid on a bottle of aftershave. Or maybe they will go and out and spend fucking 300 because they want to.
Yeah.
But at home, you know, who knows what's going to happen? But
I think there'll be an exaggeration on wanting to do things.
yeah, but where's the money going to come from, mate? Because people seem to think that all these loans that are going to keep these businesses going. This isn't just like the financial crisis where we had to bail the banks out.
And they
This
just
is
get the money.
Everybody, all these people on furlough, 80% thingy. These companies, they're all claiming that off the government. The government don't have any money. That's all going to be tax. It's all going to be tax. So it's all going to be paid back. Do you know what I mean?
Incrementally by us.
by the population. Yeah. So
Why aren't the banks
Is that
making it
confirmed?
back? Even
is that
from
legit? Is that what's going to happen?
Well,
how about a
could it not?
market
How could it
employee
not?
from the banks, right? The banks, as a market employee, selfishly for them, just stepped in and said, we are going to donate back to the people whatever pittance to them, you know, fucking £2 billion to the
Sounds
economy.
like fantastic.
Because
Interesting.
even just as a PR exercise, because it's widely understood and
Well,
known, but they aren't even asked about doing
And
that.
it's mental. You don't even need to go into the money side of things because
Jesus.
as soon as you go down that road, it just becomes. It just becomes mental. you
Well,
know.
listen, let's fucking wrap it, because you know we've started getting into the beer and the smoky, and we've got some fun to have before we all go back home to our isolation and, you know, follow the orders and do what we do. So I've enjoyed it. We've all got to
Cheers.
keep on keeping on. Cheers.
Cheers.
Stay
Wash your
safe,
hands.
everybody.
Until next time.
Yeah, and watch The Pharmacist, and what was that other one called, Harry? I'm going to check that one out.
How to fix a drug scandal.
How to Fix a Drug Scandal. Both Netflix, aren't they?
Both Netflix.
I'm
Yeah.
going to check that one out. I'll check that out tonight. Right.
Brilliant.
Stay safe.
It's been
Stay
nice.
safe. Peace. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Chew the Chat podcast.
Thank you for listening for Chew the Cat podcast.
Chew the cat.
I want to say my own word.
Go on then.
Very angry.
Well, again, four brothers. We've nipped it up. We're trying to keep it shorter. We're trying to not just bang on about Corona and COVID-19 and all the rest of it. And we're also trying to learn how to do this and mic distance and chatting over each other, but little by little, but much fun. Most importantly, getting together, seeing one another, releasing some stress and some tension, and having a good old laugh. So wonderful. Thank you, everybody. The track, I'm not going to link it in because I don't even know. I might get a bollocking from my brother, and he's a lump as well, so I need to be careful. But we will continue to play music, so do send stuff in. If you're a listener and you've got stuff and you know it's demos or whatever, if you care about it and you love it and you'd like it to be heard, send it to us. You can reach us at chewthechatpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to the sponsors, Go Deep Flotation, Lincoln Cryotherapy.co.uk. Thank you to everybody listening. Thank you to everybody who continues to support. Thanks to all the new listeners and people spreading the word and sharing this and joining this gang, and you know, all taking something from these little stories. It means the world to us. Obviously, thank you to my brothers, and we will continue to crack on. You can get the video version of that podcast. You just hop over to YouTube, just type in Chew the Chat 4 Brothers. You'll find it. Subscribe to the channel. There's loads of bits and bobs jumping up there. If anybody's got any suggestions for me to do any YouTube videos, I just did a video. It was called My Favourite Podcasts. My Google research and my YouTube research tells me you got to do some videos and get your channel moving. So I tried to do a video that was kind of one of those videos that helps people. So, you know, my favorite podcast 2020. So if you want to find out what podcasts I'm listening to, or you want any new podcasts along with Pod Bible, check that out and my video on there. And if you've got any ideas for videos you'd like us to do, let us know. Again, hit us in the socials, in the comments or DMs, or at that email address, chewthechatpodcast@gmail.com. I'm running out of breath. It's not a good sign at this time, is it? Right, brothers and sisters, take care of yourselves, love one another, try and use your instincts. I know the television and the people, and we're all kind of freezing in the tracks of stay home and keep distance, and everybody was starting to look at everybody else like, they've got their zombies. It's crazy, man. We've got to be aware, be mindful, be truthful, and let's work through this, and hopefully we get a bit closer to a better version of our worlds sometime soon. That's it from me. Take care. We'll see you again with the next episode. It's going to be a lovely lady, Annie Rattigan, the wonderful wife of Kieran Rattigan, Go Deep sponsors. So, and those guys did music together, some wicked music coming there. So stick with us, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Peace.